District Board of Education meeting. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Cerrone,
Here.
Dr. Martin,
Here.
Dr. Murillo,
Here.
Dr. Polak,
Here.
Miss Robinson,
Present.
Miss C. Here. Miss Winmouth.
Here.
All right. Can everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have, Bryn, do we have any public comment today?
No.
Okay. 4.1 is public comment. There is none today, so we'll be moving to 5.1. Superintendent report. Dr. Kelgati.
Good evening, board. It is hard to believe that we are already just around the corner to welcome our students. I loved showing up at Oswego East, and there was a marquee that said, "We look forward to seeing you." Just a welcome reminder of just getting ready for another year. 26-27 is upon us. Lots happening around the district, and I'd like to take a few minutes to share some highlights. This week, we are tomorrow welcoming our new teachers and teaching assistants, SD308. We have our induction happening this week for educators who are starting a career in education in our district. It's an important milestone, and we are so thrilled to welcome these talented individuals to our district. We have an ambitious mission, and we love to see folks rolling up their sleeves to join us in that mission. We hope the first few days are ones where they feel welcomed and encouraged. And remember, you were selected to be here, so we're happy to have you, and we are here to support you. Last week, our district leadership team gathered. We had our first administrative summits for the year. This involved principals, assistant principals, deans who came together for 2 days of training and learning and really thinking about how we communicate well across the district, how we make this every moment a meaningful moment as we build trust and focus on student needs here in our district. And it was an inspiring couple days, and just really feel encouraged to be with such a strong group of colleagues ready to work in our district. Last but not least, this past couple weeks, we've been hosting a number of coffee talks, board and town hall meetings, and opportunities to also give individuals an opportunity to hear about the budget. These are all meaningful opportunities for conversation, to hear about the priorities from both our capital improvement needs in terms of what are the things that we're facing in our district, to also on the opposite side of that, our operational needs in terms of how we think about our budget. And this evening, you'll hear more about the budget presentation as Mr. Obafemi presents that to the board, a tentative budget. This coming Wednesday at 8 a.m., we have our Exquisite Cafe. We are at Exquisite Cafe in Montgomery for our conversation about our district and some of the priorities. So I welcome everybody. And these are opportunities to hear factual information. Again, our mission is to make sure everybody's informed about what is going on in our district, to dialogue about what's important, and to learn about how they can be a part of that process. And so we're excited about that. And this evening, as you know, we are bringing to the board a recommendation to the board to bring this coming November a referendum to the taxpayers to give everybody an opportunity to invest in our community by actually lowering taxes, which is a strange thing, but we're really helping people understand what that means when you have an opportunity to both engage in borrowing and also lowering taxes, the tax burden for our community members. And with that, I want to invite, I want to thank the board and invite you for some shout outs for what's happening around the district. We've given board members an opportunity to share some shout outs because there's so many great things happening. Ms. Robinson.
We're hiring. There are several openings available across our schools where you can make a positive difference in the lives of students. Check out our jobs page on our website.
What an incredible experience for us. Oswego High School girls flag football team who were invited to attend Chicago Bears training camp. It was a memorable way for our student athletes to experience football at the professional level and build excitement as they prepare for their own season. We are proud to see the flag football program continuing to grow.
Homestead Elementary recently hosted a literacy and lemonade event where families enjoyed books and lemonade while learning about Louis Braille. Students read and wrote words in Braille and played Braille-themed games. This is a wonderful example of how we can build understanding of the unique needs of all learners.
SD308 has been selected as a partner district in Learning to Lead in Mathematics, a national initiative backed by a $4.3 million U.S. Department of Education grant in partnership with researchers from the University of Illinois Chicago and the University of Georgia. The program builds instructional leadership in math by bringing principals, assistant principals, and teacher leaders together for sustained professional learning, coaching, and collaboration. 9 of our K-8 schools roll out this year, with the remaining 9 joining in 2027, 2028.
Very cool.
A special thank you to all of the staff members working behind the scenes to prepare our schools for opening day. From our teachers and administrators to our operations, transportation, technology, food service, support staff, and everyone in between. Getting ready to welcome thousands of students back takes an incredible team effort, and we want you to know that we appreciate you.
As a reminder, the free and reduced lunch application must be completed annually. The application is open throughout the year. To check eligibility requirements and complete an application, visit our website.
And finally, congratulations to the Trauber Junior High School Wind Ensemble, which has been selected to perform at the 2027 Music for All National Festival, presented by Yamaha and Sweetwater in Indianapolis, Indiana. April 1st through 3rd, 2027, as part of the National Concert Band Festival at the Schrott Center for the Arts. They continue to build an amazing music program, and we look forward to all you'll achieve this year. Well done.
Yeah, very we have board comments and reports at 6.1. I was not here for this board protocol discussion, so who is going to be leading that this today?
It's me.
Erica. I was on vacation.
We are talking today about engaging with community and staff. When hearing a concern from a community member or staff member in person, face-to-face, or on the phone, board members will listen carefully, remembering they are only hearing one side of the story. They will then direct the person to the person in the district most appropriate chain of command to help them resolve their concern. Board members handling concerns in this manner will clarify that one board member has no individual authority to fix a problem. Board members will remember the neon sign that says board member when hearing concerns from stakeholders. Board members will call the superintendent if they think this is an issue of concern. And then we're also going to talk about communicating with the media. The board president is the spokesperson for the board to the media. The superintendent is the spokesperson for the district to the media. That's all I got.
Well done.
I
Does
find
anybody
this.
have a particular?
I was gonna say I find this difficult for me engaging with the community because I just want to fix everyone's problems, and so I have to restrain myself from jumping in to try to fix everything when there's a protocol that we have to follow.
I agree. And I think there's an added complication of remembering that no one person is a board. So I think there's an understandable level of frustration when community members or stakeholders engage with one of us. And I completely understand why they feel like they walk away without any answers or solutions. And there's also a frustration on my end as well, just because of that understanding and like you said, the inability to actually fix it. But I guess it's important to remember that while that solution might not happen in that conversation, there are other conversations that have to happen behind the scenes with their district personnel or the remaining board members before anything can kind of move forward. So
I would emphasize that because we get emailed all the time from individuals asking for a particular question from either a particular board member or several board members. And then they do get very frustrated when they don't get a specific answer. If they emailed me, for example, that they don't get a specific answer from me. I think the public needs to realize that it's not that simple. First of all, I can't fix anything by myself. And if it's something that is to that level, first of all, there's a chain of command that people need to go through first and foremost. If it goes beyond that, then it needs to be something that's brought in front of the board, and that's 7 of us, not just one person. So I get the frustration, but there are reasons for it.
I do think it's helpful to be able to say, because I understand what everyone is saying, but then also to say, let me get back to you, and then I can reach out to Dr. K or someone else on the team, or have him and say, this person's experiencing this. Is there someone they can talk to, or who can they go to? And then I can get back to them. That at least gives them a vote of confidence that they're being heard, even if their issue is not completely resolved. So I think that's helpful as a follow-up.
And while we are not resolving their issue directly, I've been part of like really big issues like this past year with interventionists and transportation and all those different changes through the communications, them voicing their concerns, changes were made, so it isn't effective. It's not effective necessarily to go to the board members, effective to voice your concerns, I guess. And then, we will do what we can to appropriately address them.
And I would add that the board is very clear about its expectations of us as an administration, that we are following up, and that I am following up on behalf of the board to ensure that the concerns that are brought when they come to an individual board member, or they come directly to the board, whether it's in public comment or other instances, I see as my responsibility to follow up and advocate for those issues, right, on behalf of the board. That is a primary responsibility that I have been entrusted by the board to carry forward. So I think it's not that the individual board members don't have influence or action, it's that they have decided, the board has decided that it is committed to ensuring that my job every single day is to ensure that the system's working towards those solutions, that we're providing training. And so I do appreciate when questions come back, say, oh, how, and regularly the board will ask me, whether it's in closed session related to personnel matters, or as part of this discussion here, can we bring back a topic, or there is a discussion or concern? So the board does act. So I think it's important to name that it's really that distinction between the individual board member versus the board's action.
And it's staying in the balcony level, right? So.
When I also think your focus on the system is important to remember, because I know like sometimes it feels like maybe a quick solution would be for the board or for the district administration to take action on an issue, but sometimes there are issues that indicate like a broken link in the chain somewhere. And so for those solutions to happen at this level, instead of at the level that is more appropriate for that problem, just exacerbates that broken link in the chain. So so for those reasons, we do tend to make sure that chain of command is followed. And so a lot of times when one of us will get a communication, we go Dr. Hogati, who then goes to his appropriate staff member and their appropriate staff member, and down the chain, and then it comes back up the chain and up the chain, and that's when you'll get a response from one of us. But I think, while the individual problems are all very important, so is the functioning of the overall system.
Mm-hmm.
Well done, Erica.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing that I think is important, the one side of the story as well. So a lot of times we'll hear one thing and then the principal will have, say another. So it's important that we listen, but understand that, it's not, it's not punishing the superintendent, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's governed by board policy. So when you hear the word chain of command, it's listed in board policy. So 3.30.
And today's discussion.
What's that?
I said, hence today's discussion.
Yeah.
I said, and we are a very large district. I mean, any one of us can't make a decision that's going to affect, over 16,000 students and,
Yeah.
over 1,000 teachers, et
I would-
cetera.
I would say imagine us being in charge of like bus routing.
Yeah.
Or what's taught in the classroom even, from a particular level, not from a governance level. Any other discussion? I was going to put a 10-minute limit, so we got a couple more, no? Okay, I think we're good. Yeah.
I was going to try to make eye contact with you.
No, we're at
Oh,
6.2.
6.2.
Sorry. My mistake.
6.2. Board member comments.
I do. Okay. I just want to thank everybody that helped out with the Start Strong project that we at Community Cares did this weekend. We offered backpacks and school supplies, and actually our new emphasis is on new shoes for kids, so kids can have new gym shoes when they come back to school here in August. We had enough supplies for 200 students, so it was a busy day, but it was fun. The
That's amazing.
because of the changes, historically we have been kind of housed out of Old Trauber. And incidentally, if you haven't been to Old Trauber lately and you still question don't question, trust me.
That's the consensus.
It's truly falling apart at this point. Because of the fact that we're moving to a new location, New Trauber, we have a lot of supplies that we would like to that we will be donating in some way, shape, or form. And I think this is more up Teresa's alley, but we have a lot of leftover supplies that we want to make available to particularly new teachers in the district. So if you are a new teacher in the district and you're looking for, especially pencils and glue sticks, among other things, just take note, there will more likely than not be some available probably in the next couple of weeks. But thank you to everyone that participated.
Awesome. Erica's got something.
I did. I went to the Limelight presentation of All Shook Up, the musical. And once again, I was very impressed with the amount of talent that we have. I don't know if everyone goes to the SD308, but I know a lot of those kids do. And it was a really good show. Great job.
Anybody else?
Erica, where did they perform?
The show was at Oswego High School.
I had a statement that I wanted to share. So the referendum is an action item on today's agenda. I wanted to highlight some of the process and reasons I support putting the referendum on the ballot. We commissioned a third-party long-range facility plan. It was led by engineers, architects, and other professionals. That plan examined the condition of our buildings with input from building level leaders and staff. They took the data and presented us with a detailed itemization of the useful lives of each building's plumbing, roofing, mechanical, electrical, exterior, interior, and other infrastructure needs that will require replacement along with related costs. This part of the plan was focused only on the necessities required in order to have buildings ready to serve students in the community. There was another part of the plan where the third party received input from thousands of community members, staff, and students to help us understand what the community wanted for our students above and beyond addressing the basic infrastructure needs. It is important to note board members were not giving outsized influence over the results of the study. The process focused on needs and input from the community, staff, and students. The accumulated input was reported back to the board. There are intentionally no quote-unquote pet projects in this referendum request. The board considered both aspects of the long-range facility plan. Upon examination and discussion, the board decided that we need to prioritize basic infrastructure requirements as well as student safety and security. That is what this referendum does. This is a referendum focusing on safety, security, and making sure our buildings are in working condition to service the needs of our school staff and students over the next 20 plus years. Once the long-range facility plan was finished, we sent the surveys to the community, and we also received feedback through public forums. The feedback we received concurred that they want us to focus on safety, security, and infrastructure necessities. This referendum focuses on those items. Finally, this referendum will correspond with savings to the taxpayer. The savings are due to refinancing practices that resulted in taxpayer savings, along with bonds maturing. This means that your bond-related portion of the tax bill will be lowered by approximately $100 for a $300,000 home in the first year, and continue to go lower over time as other bonds mature and Oswego grows. In my opinion, the timing makes sense financially. It aligns with school staff and student needs and focuses on what the community feedback told us to focus on. Did I misspeak in any way, shape, or form? Raphael? No. All right.
Well said.
That's, I just wanted to, kind of give clarity to this, the process, some of the kind of to help the community understand what happened. And, this is probably a year and a half, 2 year long thing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe even longer.
Yeah.
So how long? Almost 3 years. So there was a lot of input there.
Yeah.
So
I was
Anybody
going to
else?
say something prior to the vote, but since we're on the topic, I just wanted to reiterate that this is not. This is it's been a very intentional process. Dom did a great summary of all the stakeholders that we were able to get involved in the analysis we did of the current infrastructure of our buildings and what we need to be able to educate our students at the highest levels. I also want to reiterate that I believe that this is a responsible way to approach funding, infrastructure, and capital needs in our district. It's a very common way for districts to do it, so it's in no way out of the norm for us to go to a referendum and to restructure some of our debt to be able to, or to go on the referendum so that we can, make sure that our buildings are safe, secure for all our students. So you gave a nice summary, but I wanted to concur with that and just add those two pieces.
and we could definitely we can have a discussion when that comes up for a vote as well. So
Yep.
if anybody wants to say anything else now? Or any other comments? No? All right. So we're moving to 7.1, our fiscal year 27 budget presentation.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a time of the year again where the district is required to develop a budget and then to have the board approve the budget, put the budget on display for at least 30 days, and then approve the budget. So during the budget development process this year, it was very fraught. As you may well know, and there was actually an article in the Tribune today, education funding for school district in Illinois has been really, really difficult this year, particularly difficult. We're no different from what we faced this year. And we started out with a large deficit, and we worked our way down to a manageable number. And as part of making sure that the community is aware and informed, and as an opportunity to provide us input about the tentative budget, we scheduled 3 committee budget workshops. The first one was virtual to allow folks who were not able to make it to our site to be able to join us. And then we had one at Wolf Crossing, and the last one was at Oswego High School. Those are the presentations that we developed for the workshop. The workshop was scheduled to last about 90 minutes. So the presentation was more robust. There were about 36 slides. And we stopped to answer questions to be able to provide context to the information that we're sharing. The one that we're presenting tonight is shorter in the interest of time. And also, since folks had an opportunity to join us virtually and 2 in-person sessions, we thought that opportunity was afforded to them. So as I always say, a budget is really a moral document. It's a way for the district and the folks who are here in the district and who live in the community to put their money where their values are. And as an educational entity, main goal is to make sure we provide the opportunity required for our children to get the best opportunity to get a world-class education, to deploy the resources in such a way that makes that happen. So in doing that, we used a zero-based budget where we looked at every single thing that had to be paid for in 2027. We examined whether that was necessary, that was required to offer a good educational experience. And if it wasn't, those things were not funded this year. So every department, every budget allocation, every line was reviewed very carefully. And the goal was to have, make sure students were not impacted negatively, that the process itself is fair, is efficient, and we didn't just look at fiscal year 27. We're trying to think about the impact of decisions that we make this year. How does it impact the district long term? And so I think it's important to show this, that 95% of our employees directly support our students. And I'm talking about the educators, the building leaders, our teaching assistant, bus drivers, monitors, office staff. They work directly with the students, and that makes up 95% of the expenditure. And then a sliver, 5%, indirect support, but still support the overall operation of the district. Your human resource folks who make sure our educators are hired and they're well taken care of as far as benefits. And then the finance staff. We're the folks who make sure your taxpayers are well spent, well invested to fund the educational experience of our students. And then district leadership. Without whom it's not even possible. Now, as part of the process of trying to make sure we're efficient, thorough in the allocation of resources, we did some reduction in staffing. The total FTE reduction came up to 55.27. And in making that decision, we're very careful to try as much as possible to limit any exposure impact to the classroom. And so overall, the tentative budget amounts to 327.9. Of that amount, 291 million is operating budget, and that is to cover the day-to-day operation of the district. Staff salary, benefits, things like water bills, electricity, utilities, and repair and maintenance of our district infrastructure. That's what that is. So it's the day-to-day. And then we budgeted close to $1 million, to be exact, 944,000 for capital budget. That is for repair and building infrastructure. And then close to 37 million to pay for outstanding debt. Those are bonds that were issued in past years. That's how much we pay to service those outstanding debt. And then the property taxes make up about 55% of the revenue that we get as a district. Then we get another 43% from the state. Through the evidence-based budget, it's a big chunk of that. It's about $107 million. And as much as that is a high amount, what I wanted to show is that if you look at it, last year, which is the latest figure that we have for EBF, we had 78% adequacy, which means that we still need 22% in revenue from the state to make us fully funded, which we don't have, right? So in addition to EBF, we underfunded in transportation, underfunded in special education, underfunded in mandatory categorical funds. So this is just a picture to show where the revenue comes from. As I mentioned earlier, 55% local funds, 42.3 state, and a very, very light sliver, 2.9% comes from the federal government. And that amount seems to be going down every year. So just wanted to show the category of expenditure. And 86% of our expenditure is tied to people. And that is 70% for salary, mainly of our teachers who teach our kids in the classroom, and then the benefits that we provide them. I'm talking about health insurance, vision insurance, dental insurance, and contribution to pension payment. And so I always say, and I can't say it enough, we're in the people business. It takes a significant amount of people resources to educate children. That's just the nature of the business. Only 13.7% is non-personnel. We are talking about the contract that we have with Aeromac to provide food services, the attorneys that we work with, the audit firm that comes behind us, and audit at work at the end of the year, the software that we use to power everything that we do in district, the finance payment that we pay for the buses that we lease, the third-party transportation provider, Durham and Septran, that provides transportation for our special needs students, the property and casualty insurance that as an enterprise we're required to have to protect the interest of the district, and the facility and maintenance repair. So that is 13%, 14% if you round it up of the budget. 86% is people. So when people tell us you just need to reduce some more, what that means is we have to have bigger class sizes, and it will negatively impact the educational experience of our kids in the classroom.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
When you say benefits and you're talking about pensions,
Yes.
if a teacher's salary is, say, $75,000 a year,
Yeah.
the 9% for TRS, is
Yes.
that subtracted from the 75, or
No,
is the district
it's-
paying the extra 9%?
Yes, the district does.
So
So
instead of being 75,000, they're actually closer to 85?
yes. So if you put in the cost of the other benefits too,
No, I understand. I'm just wondering if the district's technically paying the pensions on top of the salary, or if the
so
pension
the-
amount is taken from the salary.
it's actually contribution by both. The employee pays a percentage and the district pays a percentage.
So
for
similar
education.
to Social Security.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I thought we should talk about debt because it makes up a significant amount of our budgets as it stands right now. And also because we are talking about a referendum. And as Dr. Kogati mentioned, the referendum that is being proposed for the board to approve today contemplates that the referendum amount will result in a reduction in the debt service portion of the taxpayers' property tax bill. And I've had people ask me, how is that even possible? So I wanted to figure out a way to illustrate that. And the best way for me to talk about it is when you buy a house, you know that when you buy a house, the first 12 to 15 years of paying your mortgage, you're paying just really interest. And then after that, you start paying the principal of that mortgage. The same thing is true for bonds. So if you look at the charts that I display right there, the orange bar is the interest payment. The blue one is the principal payment. As you see this fiscal year and then next fiscal year, the interest payment is higher than the principal payment. Now, but then in 2029, the opposite happened. The interest payments start going down. And the bond payment goes up for 2 years, 29 and 30. And then the interest, the principal payment then stays flat. But the interest payment continues to go down. So what is being proposed to fund the referendum is the difference in the interest payment we will have been paying, that we are no longer paying as much, and stretching that savings over a 20-year period. And that amount is equivalent to just over $400 million. Now, what we're saying is we're asking for 317 of that $400 million plus to use towards facility upgrade and repairs for the referendum. So the difference between the 400 and something million, the 317, is the savings that we are talking about in the bond and interest. Any questions? And this is a different way of showing the same thing, which you essentially see the first 2 years, really. The graph goes up, it stacks up. And then from 2029 on, the bond principal goes up, and then it starts going down because the interests are lower in the out years. So in developing the budget, our key thing is to make sure that we invest in the education in the classroom, the educational experience in the classroom. We maintain a based funding model, and we also protected fundamental staffing at every school in the classroom, foundation staffing, I should say. Additional resources based on an enrollment, as we should know, which is only fair. Schools with more students get more allocation than schools with fewer students. And then one thing that I want to really touch on very carefully is that as the district enrollment continues to stay flat, the one portion of our enrollment that's actually growing are special needs students. And so, and their requirements are getting more dire. So we've actually have been spending more money on special education. So as we think about the resource allocation, prioritizing the development of the 2027 budget, we recognize that. We made sure we invested appropriately in special education because we recognize our responsibility as educators is to make sure we provide whatever resources our students need to be successful in school later on in life. And then we also invested in academic intervention support for our students who need it. And lastly, but not the least of which, we invested in providing professional development to our staff because our staff are only as good as the resources to get to keep up with changing development in the field of education. So this is the operating expenditure comparison. We go back to 2023 and we go all the way to the tentative budget in 27. If you look at 23 and 24, we had significant surplus, and we were able to use that to start building some cushion, what it will call the rainy day fund, which are the reserve. Something that's unique about those 2 years is that we had ESSER, which is the government funding that the federal government allocated to schools during the pandemic. And we also were tier 1 in EBF, which meant we got additional money. And that helped us to start laying the foundation for a rainy day fund in case something comes up. But then ESSER funding sunset in 24. Then things got a little tricky. So last year, 2025, I should say, we had a deficit of 6.1%. One of the contributing factors to that deficit is transportation. For the last few years, we ran a deficit of about $5 million in transportation. We've been working very hard to try to address that, but it's been very difficult because of the number of students that we transport. In a given day, we transport over 12,000 kids every day. We traverse 68 square miles in the district. We don't have public transportation that we can rely on to help us move our students around. So not only do we have a deficit in transportation, but since it's an ongoing deficit, we also have a negative balance. And just like your bank account, you can't have a bank account with a negative balance. The money has to be transferred from somewhere. So what we've been doing, we've been transferring money from the ed fund to plug the hole in the transportation fund. We've also taken to levying less in the ed fund, levying more in the transportation fund, which quite frankly is not sustainable, but we've been doing that. But what I will say is it's been tough. And then last year, the audited operating fund, we had $13.4 million in deficit. As I said, 4.1 million of that is transportation. And we've been working hard to reduce the deficit in transportation. So we were able to save about $900,000 in transportation compared to what the deficit was in prior years. But it's still a deficit. We still will have to find money to fill that. Now, some of the other deficit numbers from last year was from maintenance and operations, buildings. There are things that we need to fix in the building that we didn't budget for because The budget was tight, but we have to fix it. If you remember back in the beginning of last fiscal year, the RTU trouble went out on May 1st. We had to fix it. We didn't plan on fixing it. So those are things that we spend money on that we weren't planning on spending money on, that were not included in the budget. But at the end of the day, in order for us to run a school, we had to do those things. What I can't point out enough is that a budget is a living document. We do the best we can with the information that we have when developing the budget. But life happens. Things happen during the fiscal year that we have to address. Do we want a deficit budget? Absolutely not. But before anything else, we're not a bank. We're a school district that educates students. We do the very best we can to manage the resources, to reduce expenditure as much as possible. But things happen, and that was what happened in 2026. So the tentative budget that we're presenting for this year is showing another deficit of 4.7. And I want to point out this: we're not an outlier this year with deficit budget. If you look at just about every single one of our neighbors this year, even those neighbors with bigger reserves that are with more diverse revenue source than we do, they're still ending up with a projected deficit budget this year because of the fact that things just cost more. Just about everything that we spend in a district costs more. Electricity costs more, heating costs more, water costs more, the fuel that we use to power our buses costs more. Our staff expect to be paid more because they live in the real world where groceries cost more. Those same expenses that we have that are higher, just as electricity, heating, water, they're paying the same thing. So we have to do what we can to be able to make sure we stay competitive. And it's not just us. The staff that we recruit, we're surrounded by the school district in our area. We have 2 Aurora School District. We have 204 next door. We have 203. We have 202. We have Kenland. We have Plano. They are competing for the same staff that we're competing for. So in order for us to be able to retain our staff, to maintain the continuity, to give our students the best educational experience that they deserve, that his district is used to, we have to just do the best we can and to be competitive and still manage our money effectively.
Raphael, before you move to the next slide, can I summarize something for you? You can
Yes.
tell me if I'm on the right track. Our planned deficit for 2027 is 4.7,
Yes.
correct? I'm sure that our planned deficit for 2026 wasn't
Absolutely not.
13.4, but
It was not.
because we had emergency repairs that we
Yeah.
needed to do, that crept up on us throughout the year. So if we don't address the needs of our capital improvements, that 4.7, we can anticipate that it may increase as emergencies arise. However, if we are able to pass our referendum and get those funds, we might not have to run more of a deficit.
Absolutely. And thanks for bringing that up. The part that I neglected is that in fiscal year 2025, the other thing that played a role in a deficit is that a budget was developed already. We were actually presented to the board. We've actually presented to the board, was when we found out we went from tier 1, which had been helpful for us to start building a nest egg, if you will, what we call a reserve, or what a household will call savings. And we found out we lost $8 million. We went from tier 1 to tier 2. And that amount is cumulative. So that is part of the reason why we have a $13.4 million deficit. But for that, you can deduct that $8 million from that 13, and you see what we'll be looking at.
And then there was also last year, I believe, a change in transportation reimbursements that kind of impacted
Yes,
that as well.
yes,
That
it was,
so not only are we like a high transportation district, but
yes,
that was a kind of a double whammy.
it was prorated, yeah.
Yeah.
We've never, as a district, received 100% of the dollar that we spent. So as it stands right now, at least last year, we're waiting for what it will be for next year. Every dollar that we spend, every dollar, we get 61 cents back. So right off the bat, we're behind the 8 ball, if you will.
And it was, if I remember, it was 71 cents. And then we found out last year it was 61 cents.
Yes,
So for
Yes.
the districts that don't have high transportation needs, they didn't feel that.
Right.
We were the ones that probably felt it more than almost any district
Yes.
in the state. Not saying that but that's just the reality of what happened.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I look at the 4.7, but you know what? I'm going to let you finish your presentation.
Okay. So this is all funds here. What I presented before, the operating fund, it didn't include mainly the debt service, which is that $37 million that we pay. Add that to it, and that's what all operating funds is. So the deficit last year was lower if you include that the non-operating funds, but the operating funds, all funds that we project for 2027 is at 4.7. And this is tentative. Things are still in flux. As we put the budget on display for the next 30 days, things can change. The deficit can be higher depending on how much allocation that we get. And when it comes to grants, either, we've not been allocated all our grants. We may get less than what we're hoping to get. So I just want folks to realize it's a moving number for right now until the budget is passed. That's the end that I got. I was trying to move as quickly as possible without taking up too much time. Since we had 90 minutes for each of the community workshop. Oh, yeah.
I think it's important to underscore a couple of things, and I want to thank you, Mr. Obafemi, and I want to thank your team. And I really want to thank all the administrators and educators who've been a part of building this budget, as you stated, that this is really a team effort. And also, it's also centered very much in our strategic plan. So when you think about the priorities that are emerging here, they're really a function of the strategic plan that was established by the board last spring. So given that, there are also standard benchmarks that we use in terms of the quality and the nature of our budgeting process. And we draw from, and I think for the public, one of the questions that often comes up is, how do you know this is being developed? So every year, the district engages in an annual audit, right, of all of our financial picture, right? So that is a part of when we start to think about our budgeting process, that's a part of it. What are the things we need to examine in our budget? What are the things that we've overlooked in our budget? Those all contribute to this. The other thing that we do is we do engage in departmental, and Mr. Obafemi mentioned zero-based budgeting. So how do you look at what do you need versus what do you regularly just spend? And so really engaging in a really thoughtful process of prioritization about what you can absolutely have to keep the work going. And so some of these have led to very robust conversations. When I look at neighboring districts, even just down the street from us, Plainfield, eliminated, $8 million, had an $8 million deficit and projected a significant losses there. And so they're projected at $14 million for fiscal year 28. So they're already seeing themselves how far in advance, how are we starting to think about those projections of the future. And so we will begin our budgeting process as soon as this is done. We're beginning already for fiscal year 28 as well because of the risks ahead of us.
One thing I will say is, if anyone who's listening to us would like to read more about our front, the educational budget is in Illinois. There's actually a real good article in the Tribune. You can access that article, and it speaks to all the districts in Illinois, except for the very, very wealthy ones who do not depend on state funding. They're actually districts with that 170% adequacy. What it means is that they get little or no money from the state. They depend on property tax. They have a very diverse property tax base where you have businesses paying a big chunk of the taxes. So they can afford to. You have district, we spend an average $16,000 per student. Is what we spend an average. That district that spend as much as $30,000 per student.
Mr. Obafemi, perhaps I didn't hear you, or so if you told us, my apologies. Did our tier shift in terms of funding?
Absolutely. We went from tier 1. So the way EBF is structured is that every year you get what is called base funding, whatever you get prior year. And then any new money, which is $350 million, that the legislator appropriate. Tier 1 gets the majority of it.
Right.
And then tier 2 get a piddly amount. Tier 3, tier 4 get nothing. So going from tier 1 to tier 2, we lost $8 million. That amounts then become cumulative, which means that when we get what the final allocation is for this year too, it's going to be 8 million plus that we're losing.
So we're in tier 2 this year?
Yes, we are.
And we moved tiers last year, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I anticipate, because as long as CPS is tier 1, nobody else is moving. Because they get, that's number 1. And number 2 is that we had looked at with the property growth, the EAD growth in our area, which I believe is about 2.3 billion now, is the value of all taxable property in the district. 2.9 billion.
And perhaps it's hard for you to forecast this, but do you anticipate that our tier will move next year to tier 3? Is that a
I think that will be, I doubt it.
okay?
I really doubt it. Because last year we were 78. I suspect that this year we'll move down a notch. But I don't think we'll move enough for us to get out of tier 2. And the reason why I think we wouldn't move to tier 3 is because of 2 things, really. We have a growing SPED population, and that's part of the formula that is used to allocate for EBF. We also have a growing English learners, ML. So that will actually put us in good stead. So what I anticipate is, we'll probably be at about 75% adequacy, which will still leave us at tier 2. And yeah, for this year. And for next year, I think if anything, we'll probably go up back to 78. But I don't see us jumping from what I'm forecasting for this year being 75, going all the way to like 80 or something like that. So I don't.
Thank you.
So this is a new reality. You talk about, and I don't know, it helped me understand it, and I'm not sure if we really have kind of explained it this way. So last year, $8 million. So that's $8 million year 1. That's another $8 million year 2
Yeah.
that we won't get. Another year 3, year 4. So over a 5-year span, that's $40 million.
Absolutely.
That's what.
Yeah.
That's, like I said, that's a new reality.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And we're kind of teetering on that tier 1, tier 2.
Yeah.
But for some reason, like we're at that cutoff where we're,
Yeah.
like if there's 70 schools, I know that there's 500 school districts.
820.
820. 815 are tier 2 or lower. We're probably like number 812, right?
I don't think
we're pretty close to the tier 1 as far as.
I'm not sure that we're close using the calc. I don't think we're that close to tier 1. I think
my point is we're definitely not at that 100% or.
Oh no,
we're
absolutely not.
Yeah.
The only district that I could think about that I know of in this area, that's tier 1, that's tier 3. I know Manuka, the elementary district is tier 3. And I believe that Newark, both the elementary and the high school district, they're tier 3 or 4. So yeah. So yeah, to your point, so when you lose that 8 million, then our base minimum goes down by that 8 million. So even if we get an increase this year, once the allocation are released, since our base minimum is lower, our increase will be lower too.
So when we budgeted it just like Plainfield did, just like many other school districts in the area did, as a tier 1 school for 1 more year. And then
Plainfield, Yorkville,
And if you kind of add 13 plus 5, that's 18 million. That's 16. You see what I'm saying?
Yep, it's
Um,
cumulative. Yeah.
So that was, but that was something that nobody expected to get from tier 2 to tier 1, or from tier 1 to tier 2.
One of the big reasons
We were trying to be
that was
conservative by having one more year,
yeah, it's EAV. As I said, our EAV is about
and they changed
2.9
the
billion.
calculation.
But we
So,
can't really tap
Plainfield
into
was
that.
talking about that a lot.
We can't tap into that because we're capped.
Right.
We tax cap to CPI or 5%, whichever one is low, which for this budget is 2.9%.
Yeah.
So we have the growing EAV because we're developing, but we can't. That doesn't mean we get the money.
So I expect, as you know, it's not sustainable, so we gotta keep plugging that hole.
Yes, we are starting. We're gonna, as soon as this budget is approved in September, we're gonna start the fiscal year 28 budget. Except I think that is gonna be even more challenging than this year. So I don't want to scare anyone, but it's gonna be more challenging this year.
We're already pretty frightened.
What?
You said you didn't want to scare anyone. Trust me, we're already pretty frightened with these numbers. So,
It's even gonna, next year, it's even gonna be more challenging.
Well, and then just the impact on students, you know?
Yeah.
So,
So that's what we have to balance. We can have a balanced budget at all costs. It's cut everything, but we will be creating pain for our students in the classroom.
Right.
And that's difficult.
$5 million is not a little.
No, it's not.
So if to cut another $5 million, I think people would, like you said, it would be higher class sizes. It would be not satisfying needs of students.
And where the money is, as I mentioned earlier, is in people. It will be a significant reduction in personnel.
I have a question. You had talked about the difference between the anticipated deficit and the actual deficit we ended up with this year.
Yeah.
I know some of that was obviously the reduction in funding, but for the expenditures that were unanticipated, what I know we've talked about things like benefits being more expensive and just keeping the lights on being more expensive. But were those how many of those unexpected expenditures were facilities issues?
A big chunk of his facility. And that's really the issue that we're dealing with about not planning how we're going to manage our facility. Because what we're doing, we're using a process of break, will fix. And when you do break, you'll fix, as you know, as we all know in our house, you pay more for it. Because you don't get, if things tend to break in the middle of the night. I think Andre will support me. 2 a.m. in the morning, he's texting me, this RTU is gone out. 12 midnight, the chill is gone. Nothing ever happens during the day. And when you do that and you have school starting in the morning, what you try to do, you do emergency repair. And when you do emergency repair, you pay premium. And we are now talking about the AC unit that we have in an individual house. We're talking about, if we're talking about RTU, it's about the size of an 18-wheeler. And we have 6 of them in the building. If one goes out, you need to fix it. You're talking about between 1.2 to $2 million. And it's not just something you can just go to Home Depot and pick up one. The electrical implication, there's so much in the way of logistics in order for that to get done. And if you want to go through the regular process, you need a lead time of at least a year. Your architect has got to design the unit, then you got to get it approved. You got to take it out to an RFP. You got to have a meeting with potential bidders, give them a walkthrough all over the building so they can see what the electrical system that is going to support that RTU is. So when they bid, the bidding could be accurate, so they don't underbid themselves. So that is a very involved lending process if you do it right. But if you're trying to just make sure that when school starts tomorrow, you got to have heat, you got to have electricity, air conditioning, then you're paying a premium. You absolutely are not getting the best product. Right?
I think that we also, talked about more teachers getting going back to school, so plane changes and things along those lines than anticipated. It's just but that was part of our contract in order to retain and better our staff. So
And I mean, there are services that we are mandated to provide that is, for what it is, we can't cut. And those mandated services keep going up. The state keep cutting their reimbursement, but we got to keep doing it. So even if we're looking for areas to cut, which is what I try to explain to our community, we can't touch those. The areas that are growing the most, that are getting more spend, we can't touch it.
Dr. Kincaid, did you want to add anything as you're thinking about, you work very closely with Mr. Obafemi in thinking about this, and you played a big role as well. So thank you, Dr.
I would also bring Dr. Dubiel into the
Yes.
conversation,
Yeah.
especially as Mr. Obafemi discussed. Our enrollment overall for the last few years has been fairly stable, around 16,000 students. While we are seeing quote unquote declining enrollment in our incoming classes, we have had some growth. Our outgoing classes have been about 300 to 400 students less. But as mentioned, where we're seeing the greatest percentage of growth is in our special needs population, both in our special education and our multilingual learners. So Yvette and her team have been working very closely with our buildings, with our staff to provide services that are needed, but then also be cognizant of fiscal responsibility. Yvette, anything that you would like to add?
Thank you, Dr. Kincaid. Yes, I would add that we have, in our efforts to be fiscally conservative, one of the approaches we've also taken is talking to our neighboring districts and ways that they have also been able to support students, provide quality instructional support resources, and be very mindful and thoughtful about ways we can cut with the least impact to kids.
Thank you.
I can't say enough. The budget was delivered with a collaborative effort. Every single one of our team members contributed because where we started from was difficult. So we had to keep going back and ask, what else can we do? What else can we do? But we did it with compassion and with a focus on making sure we do not compromise the educational experience of our kids. I want to make that clear. Even with the reduction, we're very intentional, mindful, and we talk to program folks and say, what can we do this year? What can we defer to future dates? We just had a lot of conversations. So we started on this in October. We didn't finalize it until just about a couple of weeks ago. It's been that intense. So it's been a collaborative effort. It's not something that just the finance team did. Dr. Kincaid, I want to call her out, played a significant role in trying to broker on the program side what is possible, what is not. So because, and as the finance guy, I want to cut everything. Let's balance the budget. Let's balance the budget. That's what, but I also know I don't work for a bank. I don't work for a private enterprise. I work for a school district where we educate children, where it takes a lot of people to educate children. So, and it takes a lot of resources to do it right. So it's a balance. So that was made possible with collaboration and support from our colleagues.
I would also agree and extend that to our teammates in the Human Resources Department, both Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Nash, in terms of with every position, we have gone through our directors and our teammates just to evaluate need and placement within our organization.
I just have a quick question, Dr. Yvette Dubel. When you mentioned that you had connected with other districts, in particular, was that District 204? Because from what I gather, our special education program is very different from theirs. So I'm curious to see how that conversation went, but most importantly, how we can move forward to gain some of their expertise as they continue to build and have crafted a I like to call it oil machine in regards to their special education, especially regarding autism services and so forth on.
Yeah, we didn't tap into neighboring districts for the specific program. That was part of the comprehensive review. So last year, one of the things we did is really tap into neighboring districts for early childhood, as that was a focus of where we could perhaps find some opportunities to not impact students to the detriment of their education. So that was a focus for that piece of it. There are some other things that we're doing to tapping into neighboring district, but that the program piece that came out of the comprehensive review. But this year we continue to do a program review as part of the strategic plan.
Well, I guess I just want to kind of, when you mention like neighboring districts in speaking to how they are continuing to progress based upon the economic stance, was District 204 considered, or was that a part of the conversation, I guess is my ask?
204 was one of the districts tapped into for information regarding early childhood transportation.
But just not overall for special
Correct,
education.
correct. We're still very much in that process.
Do you feel like that's an opportunity given just they've been around for years and have done great work in their community?
But to your point, they're very, very different, right? We have a lot more programs than they do, but it can be. It won't be limited to 204, but I can anticipate that we would get some experience and some knowledge and expertise from talking to our neighboring districts, not just 204.
That's fair.
All right. Appreciate
you.
that. And unless there's any other questions about the budget? No? All right. 7.2, facility updates.
Good
There's
evening,
some big
board. Thank you
news
for the
tonight.
opportunity. Yay, that's me. Maybe put a little smile back on everybody's face, talk about some fun stuff that we got done this year. So on top of all the countless tickets that the whole operations team throughout the district has been taking care of, just fully getting the buildings cleaned, repaired, ready to go for the students coming back. We did have 3 major projects that I wanted to give you an update on. As of Thursday, July 30th, both compressors were installed by the contractors. Yes, that is amazing. Thanks to members of our team, especially Dean, compressors were up and running. We had 45-degree water Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock. The building has been cooling for almost 2 weeks now. We've not seen any hiccups, any issues. Dean was actually in this Saturday with the manufacturer of the compressors, plug the laptop in, do all the nice fancy stuff. They see no issues. Both of them are just purring along beautifully. So thanks to that, Boulder Hill is repaired, cooling properly. We don't foresee any other issues coming out of the chiller itself. The next update I'd like to talk to you about is the wonderful flooring that we have at Lakewood Creek and at the Wheatlands now. I didn't present a slideshow. The pictures are in the board memo. I was trying to be efficient of time here. But yes, there is a plethora of pictures in the memo. Both gyms have been completed. Walked them today. The Wheatlands has one little minor issue that the contractor is going to fix this week, but has no implications on school next week. So with that, the carpet's completely gone. The new LVT floor is in, painted, ready for children next week. And then the last one that I wanted to update you on was the Brokaw Early Learning Center. With the funds that we got from the state, pretty last minute, kind of a time crunch to get it in. The concrete has been poured. The chain link fence is up and ready to go. We are just waiting for 2 sets of gates that will be coming in this week. And now Brokaw will have their second fenced in outdoor hard surface play area, which I'm being told will benefit the program to help get better scores every year when the state comes and walks through. So with that, the LED projects have been finished. We do have a updated schedule for the next board meeting. The installing company is going to come and just give a quick brief description on all the lights that we've changed out and the potential energy savings that we're having. We are still working with them on some of the programming, trying to dial it in with the specifics as far as getting the right looms in the spaces. Some gym teachers think it's too bright. Some people think that it needs to be a little bit brighter. So we have full capabilities of adjusting that, but we're trying to get it set to one standard per building and then just kind of forget about it. So it's not going to be constantly changed around. And then, just the energy efficiency with the new lights, all having built-in motion sensors. For example, at the end of the day, when the kids leave and nobody's in the gym, after 30 minutes, the lights will dim down to 50%, and then after 15 minutes, they completely go off. And then the second that somebody walks into that space, no matter where they're coming from, all the lights will just instantly turn on. So just that aspect alone, being in all of our current gymnasiums, not to mention a few of our LRCs and a few of our junior high lunchrooms. We're predicting quite a bit of massive savings coming from that one. The other project that Dean and I have been working with was another ComEd grant. It was a pilot. We signed up for it. We've kind of just been working on it with Raphael's blessing. There is a company that works with McKinstry that did our facility assessment plan, came to us and said, ComEd has this pilot. We think it would be great. Do you want to test it completely free? We said, sure. Let's see what happens. Essentially, they put a gateway on top of our building automation system, which allows their contractors to come in and look at all of our schedules and set points. I think to this day, correct me if I'm wrong, Dean, we've done 7 or 8. We've done 8 different load tests. So what this does is they will come in early, they will pre-cool the building by 2 degrees, they shut off all non-essential equipment. Summertime's the perfect time to do it. We don't have teachers, we don't have kids. Yes, we have admin up front, custodians cleaning, but what we've seen on our graphs and our temperatures is that we've only risen up 2 to 4 degrees in the space. So worst case scenario, we're getting up to 74, 76 degrees, and then usually by 6 p.m., cooling turns back on. When the temperatures outside cool off, we bring the building back down. The last projection they gave us was, I think it was around a $20,000 savings in just our electricity bill. But we're working on compiling all that information so that we can present that to you as well.
So all we're saying, we're doing everything we can on things we have the ability to control, expenditures. We are controlling expenditure as much as possible. We don't have as much control with revenue, so we're doing everything we can on that expenditure side.
Any questions? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the update. 7.3. Memo for district-wide weed control.
Andre.
Not done. So again, we have gone out and we've requested 3 different prices. This is going to be for all of our 560 acres that the district owns. We do the best that we can with maintaining just the sports fields with our in-house staff and crew that we have between our central grounds and our high school grounds. But every fall, we need to put down weed control so that it sits in to hopefully keep the dandelions down in the spring. True Green has been doing this for years for us, and they've withheld the same price for several years. So we did reach out to 2 other companies that came in a little bit higher. So the information is to get approval, hopefully at the next board meeting. Notoriously, we always have this done over the Labor Day weekend because the kids are out for 3 days. They can come in on Saturday when nobody's around, spray all the fields, and then it sits for 2 days before the kids come back to play in the grass.
Okay. Any questions about weed control? Thank you. 7.4, committee of the whole proposed meeting structure.
So, board, you received a memo on this tonight. Just to underscore again, the priority is here to increase access for the community to the discussion that the board has been holding in, I would say, more individual committees. These topics essentially will become, what were standing committees will now become essentially standing topics for the committee of the whole when the board comes together for committee of the whole at the beginning of each month. And this effect. This would allow then the whole board to engage more in the committee discussion around the topics that are coming forward and provide time for the public to also weigh in more transparently. This will also be made available to the public as it has in on these board meetings. One of the reasons for this is to really, again, as I said, provide more transparency. It doesn't negate any of the decision making or change for the board. It provides more of again, an opportunity for the whole board to hear and to engage in these topics more readily than the past. I would also say that one of the caveats of that is that we do have policy recommendations that are coming from Press Plus. And so we would do some pre-work in preparation for the board, not unlike what has happened in prior years. So that would not diminish the board's influence on policy decisions. So any questions for the board?
Does anybody have objections or concerns?
The one thing I would,
Opposite of a concern.
okay,
Yeah,
No, I just
it's gonna go there too, right?
no, a lot of so we all in the past have served on individual committees, and it's difficult to know what goes on in the. I mean, we get summaries obviously, and we hear about it at board meetings, but it would be like I'm looking forward to the opportunity to hear things for the first time with everyone else, because as the format was previously, you know, if someone was hearing something in finance committee, they would hear it in finance committee as with the other board members that are on that committee, and then hear it a second time at the board meeting where the rest of the board would be hearing it for the first time. So it was kind of redundant for some of us, and for others, it kind of felt like it would have been nice to be in on the ground floor of the conversation. So I'm glad that we kind of all have the same access now.
Great. Yeah, it feels like it solved some of the kind of problems with the committee as it is today.
I feel like the word Dr. Kaladi used the word like it provides more transparency. I don't know if it's the right word for me, but I think because I always think it's been transparent. Like
Yeah.
all of
Provides
our
more
meetings have
access.
always
Yes,
been
it's
public.
recorded.
People can, but
Yes.
we do see less public, for example, at our committee meetings, if any at all, and where sometimes those really important discussions are happening. And so even though they've been long established, we don't get the public there very often. Even though it's always been transparent,
I think
but
it'll
it's
be more
just been
accessible.
accessible. I think is maybe a better word, and it's just more. They would understand like more where to go to find that information. This is just more of a public space. I guess.
And it's also more.
It's always public,
It's a
but
more direct flow of information.
yes,
It's
thank you.
more efficient.
Centralized.
Can you expand a little bit on the because I've been on the policy committee now since I've been on the board, and it seems like those meetings take a little bit longer because we're going through all those different policy
Yeah.
items.
Say it
Is
in
that
one
what's going to
cow.
happen at the committee of the whole? Will we do that as a whole board, or will there may be some massaging of that process so we can
There we
talk
go.
about the meatier items regarding policy?
Yes, that's what Dr. Kogati was alluding to. So the pre-work will be really trying to reorganize that press in terms of what is simply review versus what is discussion versus what will need action beyond or decision making. I mean,
Discussion.
all of the policy changes require action. So the materials that will be provided to the board in addition to the press issue will be a memo kind of reorganized in that manner. So what is simply just either the 5-year review, the footnote review, we do have some policies that are just simply almost like an FYI. Then we have some red line policies from press, but then we have some policies that require the board not only to take action, but to make decisions about how the policies will then be worded. So that is some of that pre-work that will be done. So the information that you'll receive will be organized in that manner to be able to focus our time in the committee of a whole on the policies that will require decision-making prior to action.
So we'll no longer be having discussions on footnotes and changing footnotes and whether or not a footnote applies.
Unfortunately,
Sad.
not at this time.
Darn.
The,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, this should be good.
Should be good. Even if, here we go.
I'm not sure if it was addressed in the memo. Maybe it was. Are we doing where we're going to be like one board member? We'll have like an hour discussion, you know, kind of to whittle down a topic, or is that something, or is that
That will be
what's your
something that the
administrative-
committee for the whole may decide, that there may be a topic that comes up that the committee says, oh, we need to do some more learning about this. Is there a board member who would assist in that pre-planning for that work? But I think that will be a more holistic committee decision.
So on
versus,
a
an
case by
assigned-
case.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it'll be more of a, because there may be a topic, so we have our student rights responsibility. We'd want to bring teachers, board members, staff, community members to that discussion. The committee may say, we'll engage in that at our public, or we'll engage in that through 3 series of special meetings for that. That will come out of the committee, the whole discussion.
I just remember talking with Yorkville. That was something that they thought, but we're not going with that.
Not, there may be a need for it, but not necessarily standing.
Okay.
They have in Yorkville, for example, they have a board member who meets regularly with a staff member prior to the board meeting to make a decision about that, about something for the board. But I think that will come up more ad hoc if it's needed.
Okay.
Through board decision.
This was just
I was gonna, in the memo, there's questions for the board's discussion. Do you need
Mhm.
answers to those questions?
No, they're more
tonight?
just probing questions than
Yeah.
necessarily a formal answer. So
Yeah.
if any of those things come up, it's looking for the board's consideration. There's one thing around policy in terms of we have standing. The initially I thought that it was a policy decision, but after further review, it does not appear that it's actually a policy decision change. It's really more of a, it's nested under this, they're continuing this.
Okay.
Right, Dr. I think Dr. Kenny and I discussed this quite a bit.
So some of our committees are outlined in board policy. So while they might not be separate policy meetings, there will need to be attention drawn to, as Dr. Kilgatti mentioned, when we will be doing student rights and responsibilities, when we'll be revisiting discipline of special education within student rights and responsibilities. So we will just have to make sure that there's clear alignment of when those topics are being discussed.
And then the policy wording, I think, for the committees themselves was can, correct, if I remember right. So not
some-
shall.
Correct, especially in that opening paragraph
Right.
in that policy.
That was some more my questions.
I know this shift has required some mental gymnastics for a lot of people on the district team. So thank you for going through that and mapping out what it might look like. And I'm sure it'll be clunky for everyone involved on all sides of it for a while. But, you know, we appreciate your willingness to kind of, you know, go on the journey. We'll see how it goes. But thank you.
And that was a big part of the conversation. It's making sure that there was alignment, you know. So
Well, we thank you for your attention to that and thinking about how it impacts our team, but also the efficiency of it. That's it. Okay.
Oh, hold on one moment.
Oh, yeah. No
yeah,
worries.
go ahead.
What are the next? Is this?
So,
So do we? I'm reading through the memo again, and we don't have to vote on it. We just have to have consensus that we're going to move forward in this way. And so will this be for our, like, when does this start?
so we typically would start our committee meetings in September. So in
Yeah.
2023, that's when I joined the board. I mean, the district, on behalf of the board, I was asked to review our committees. And so at that point, we made some shifts. And so my recommendation to the board is that we would start in September
Okay.
with that first board meeting in September. Did I get that right, Brandon? Thank you.
Is it?
And so,
The
so that's-
schedule says September 14th.
Yeah, that board meeting. And then we do have some shifts that Brennan and I worked on in terms of the overall agenda to bring some, and those we would start next board meeting to make it more streamlined to support the board in its functioning.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the questions. It's always helpful to be able to make sure we're aligned in what we're hoping for and communicating. So
And this might have been in there as well. Pride and recognitions, those things will, I'm assuming, be on the action item day or.
yeah, Absolutely.
Wait, I thought it said it was going to happen in both.
Both meetings. In the memo, it says both meetings.
There
We
may
would-
be times where we would have them. We're going to lean to the second more, depending on the length. We don't want to have a long committee meeting and then have pride awards, because so our goal is really to move in the second one. We may have, if it's a shorter committee meeting, have some.
I still want to be able to recognize students, obviously. So
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
yeah, to make sure we're not like shortchanging that, because we usually
No.
get through those pretty quickly. Things
Our
like
goal
that.
is to actually increase the celebratory, or at least reflection of moments to learn.
Yes. And then do we have a plan to kind of inform the public about this change so that they know kind of what to expect?
Yeah,
Not-
so tonight was the start of that.
Okay.
Wanted just to get a pulse, and then I think at the next board meeting, we'll bring back kind of feedback that we heard tonight, and then we'll just have it in a memo, and then we'll work with our communications team to think about.
Erica, you had said that it was on the schedule or something. What-
There's two links in the board doc that one of them links to a schedule.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns? All right. Moving to 7.5. Records request management platform.
So I want to thank Dr. Kincaid and the team. This has been a shared, like the budget, problem across many districts, where we problem in that managing the volume of FOIAs. And so Dr. Kincaid and her team have come up with some solutions.
So on behalf of our FOIA office and our Student Services Department, really in partnership with our technology department, we are bringing a recommendation for a records request platform. So over the course of the last year or so, we have seen significant increase in records requests, both for FOIAs and for student records. So the team set forth to look at different platform options. I'm really looking for a system that would do redaction, management of records, and streamlining duplicate records. As you can imagine, when we do email searches, we get hundreds of really the same emails over and over. So the team looked at 3 different platforms, and based on the secure data storage size, the price, the team is recommending a platform called Just FOIA. And it is currently being used locally. 202 also uses this platform, but we would like to implement this. We believe that it will decrease the amount of man hours and increase the accuracy, especially with the streamlining of duplicate records and the redaction. So we are here today just to provide the information of the platform review, and then we would be coming to our next meeting for action and approval.
So this platform would be able to potentially weed out AI-generated FOIAs based on email address or based on repetition?
So right now, if we get what we anticipate is an AI-generated FOIA, we have pretty much a form letter that we send back and wait for a response. We do not complete the FOIA until we have verification. But in terms of what this software would do is when we have a request for like an email search based on keywords, right now we have to manually go through and eliminate duplicates. So what this software would do would minimally eliminate the duplicates as the first pass through instead of going through by hand. In addition, the software will do redaction, which our team, both in student services and in our FOIA office, is currently doing by hand also.
So is the main function relative to redactions and just essentially searching via email?
Yep.
for
So it would manage the records. So right now we're in like Google folders for data management and record keeping of FOIA. So it'll be the management of the records, it'll be redaction, and then the streamlining of duplicate records. So it's really just systematizing the process to prepare the record to be able to then not only be compliant, but then also be responsive within time, given the number we're getting.
But you'd still have to do some of the manual labor relative to
100%
board policy.
in
Okay.
terms of the final review before any record is sent. So
What's
other
the
questions? Oh.
what's the one-time cost?
setup of the software system.
All right. Unless there's anything else, we're going to move to 8.1, action items for the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
I make a motion to approve all items under consent, including 8.1 minutes from the Board of Education meeting on July 13th, 2026, open and closed sessions, special Board of Education meeting on July 21st, 2026, open session, and special Board of Education workshop meeting on August 1st, 2026, open session. 8.2 to acknowledge the FOIA request received by the district. 8.3 to approve the resolution and request for Kendall County land cash in the amount of $2,278.73. 8.4 to approve a PTO donation in the amount of $38,000 to cover the cost of an electronic marquee at the Wheatlands Elementary. 8.5 to authorize the payment of bills in the amount of $8,565,596.30 as discussed and presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
Miss Winmouth,
Aye.
Miss C,
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone,
Aye.
Miss Robinson,
Aye.
Dr. Polak,
Aye.
Dr. Murillo,
Aye.
Dr. Martin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Action item 9.1, approval of district administrator contracts. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve district administrator contracts as discussed and presented.
Second.
Any discussion? No. You seconded? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Greetings, President Cerrone, Vice President Martin, members of the Board of Education, and Superintendent Dr. Kogati. I am pleased to bring two candidates for your approval. The recommended candidate for Assistant Director of Safety and Security is Dan Kuttner. Dan most recently served as a security specialist with Yorkville School District. He began his career in the United States Marine Corps and previously served with the DuPage County Sheriff's Office and the St. Charles Police Department. Throughout the interview process, Dan's strengths centered on building trust with students and staff, approaching safety through a calm, proactive, and systems-focused lens. Please join me in welcoming Dan to District 308. Our second district administrator is the recommended candidate for Assistant Director of Operations, Mr. Dean Collins. Dean has worked with SD308 for the last 19 years. Over that period of time, he has demonstrated the knowledge, expertise, and leadership potential necessary to excel in this role. His dedicated service, progressive advancement through multiple operational roles, and comprehensive understanding of the district's facilities have prepared him well for this leadership opportunity. Please join me in congratulating Dean on his promotion.
We have to
Yeah,
take a
couldn't we have
vote.
voted first?
Well, yeah, it's fine. Now we vote.
Dr. Polak,
Aye.
Miss C,
Aye.
Miss Robinson,
Aye.
Dr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone,
Aye.
Miss Winmouth,
Aye.
Dr. Murillo.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Clap again.
Action item 9.2, approval of building administrator contracts. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve building administrator contracts as discussed and presented.
Second.
Any discussion? And then-
Let's take the vote
Let's
first.
vote first.
Miss Winmouth,
Aye.
Dr. Murillo,
Aye.
Dr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone,
Aye.
Miss C,
Aye.
Miss Robinson,
Aye.
Dr. Polak.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
I am pleased to bring to you two building administrators for approval this evening. The recommended candidate for assistant principal of Plank Junior High School is Susan Forecash. Susan Forecash brings more than 20 years of educational experience, including 6 years as a junior high principal. She has extensive experience in instructional leadership, teacher evaluation, school improvement planning, student behavior systems, scheduling, budgeting, school safety, and leading professional learning communities. Her experience, combined with her passion for high-quality instruction, makes her a well-prepared candidate for Plank Junior High School. Please join me in welcoming Sue to SD308. The recommended candidate for assistant principal of special education at Oswego East High School is Angela Williams. Angela brings a unique combination of extensive special education experience, high school and transition experience, administrative leadership, and strong interpersonal skills to the role. Her background directly aligns with the responsibilities required of the role at Oswego East High School, including instructional leadership, staff development, and supervision. We are confident that her experience will make her a strong addition to the Oswego High School administrative team. Please join me in welcoming Angela to SD308.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. And thank you to the teams who worked very diligently. I know this can be a tough time of year to find strong candidates, and we're proud to bring all of you onto the team. Have a great evening.
Yeah.
And now you could all get up and walk out.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Go ahead.
Action item 9.3, approval of intergovernmental agreement for municipalities. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement for municipalities as discussed and presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All right.
Mr. Saron,
Aye.
Miss C,
Aye.
Dr. Martin,
Aye.
Miss Wenmouth,
Aye.
Dr. Murillo,
Aye.
Dr. Polak,
Aye.
Miss Robinson.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Action item 9.4, approval of resolution providing for and requiring the submission of the proposition of issuing school building bonds to the voters of the district at the general election to be held on the third day of November 2026. Can I have a motion, please? Can I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the resolution providing for and requiring the submission of the proposition of issuing school building bonds to the voters of Community Unit School District Number 308, Kendall, Kane, and Will counties, Illinois, at the general election to be held on the third day of November 2026, as discussed and presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have
Yes,
some
yeah.
questions.
Go ahead.
Is it possible to get detailed reports of the projected projects for each school and their dollar amounts on the website?
It's a great question. We can definitely look at that, and we have very specific plans. I know Andre's worked very specifically with each school, so yes, we can look at that, and if I can get back to you about
fine.
when we can get that, we can bring that to the next board meeting.
I think it's important for
Is
the
that something the board, everybody would want? Okay.
Yeah,
I think
want
it's
that to be
important. I'm
available to the
asking
public,
more
yeah.
for the public to have the information than
Okay,
it being dependent on my vote. tonight.
great. Okay.
Yeah, and I just to kind of support that, like I know a lot of that information is kind of aggregated in the larger presentations that
Mhm.
the district's been given, but I think, you know,
The-
to Erica's point, having it broken down by school.
It's
would
broken
be
down by
beneficial.
school, but it's not listed as individual projects. So it'll say like
Right.
4.6 million for Hum
For, like,
Club,
yeah.
and then it goes into percentages of what that is going to go to, but it doesn't detail what those projects are.
So some of those, let me come back with a
Yeah.
proposal and the board can respond, but we will definitely work on some communication updates on that around this.
And then I bring that up because I was looking at the life safety report, and that is very detailed. And
Got it.
I'm also assuming that those projects are going to get included with the referendum work, or is that a separate
well,
pot of money?
if they're cross, no, that's the same pot of money,
Yeah.
right? So those are all part of the same pot.
Eric, are you asking with the purpose, for example, that if I'm a Boulder Hill parent, I kind of know what's going to be fixed if I'm going to vote for this referendum? Is that
Yes.
Is that the
Yeah, and I-
audience? Like, is that the purpose of the communication?
I mean,
Does that
I
make
don't
sense to me?
anticipate a ton of people wanting to drill down on, which compressor needs to be fixed. But if you look at the life safety report, those are very, like this door needs to
Yes.
be fixed or replaced, and this light needs to be turned on, so
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there's any way to break out what's gonna be done in each school more, detailed than what we have now.
Well, and I think to kind of piggyback off of that, like some of the things are like there's just such varying degrees of kind of like the severity or like the like load of work that needs to be done at different schools. So sometimes it might be like to Erica's point, like a light here or there, but other times it might be like a restructuring of an entryway so that visitors have a new system when they're coming in to check in or something like that. And I think for parents it would be really beneficial for parents and community members to not only know what the situation in their own kids' school is, but also to see it, like what's represented around the district.
And maybe the solution is not as detailed as the life safety plan, but more of an itemized list.
So we have, for everything, we have a very detailed plan and part of what is
Yeah.
needed. What becomes important depending, the importance of this is that it allows us then to begin the next step of the project management of when those projects then take place.
Right.
And
that
so regardless, we do know the associated needs across each building. Mr. Andre, do you want to add to that?
So just to clarify, health life safety is
Right.
more of a code violation that we have to deal with that the architects have laid out for us per the codes of when that building was built. Now, yes, the architects are the ones that took that time, created the detailed lists. Of those lists, majority of that is work that we can do in-house. For example, we're still finding drinking fountains that were turned off during COVID. Okay, that was a 5-minute fix, right? Like the architect found it wasn't working. We turned the water back on, we ran it, we cleaned it, drinking fountain's working. Things that are detailed in the McKinstry report, once the potential of the 317 million has been approved, laying out that diagram and that time frame of all the work and when it all gets done, it's laid out pretty good, but I wouldn't say that we've actually sat down and decided which projects will be done in which year. We're going off of the life expectancy of the McKinstry report on the assessment. I think the next steps would be to start actually saying what projects are we going to do in the summer of 28, 29, depending on when the money becomes available. Yes, I can very easily pull it off per building, give a detailed list. For example, I was trying to pull one earlier of where could I spend the first $20 million? There's 400 bullet points. So for me to pull 317 in the McKinstry report, even if I break it down per school, you're probably talking hundreds and hundreds of points per school. But we can definitely look into that, and I can get with Dr. Kilgadi, and we can have that information presented and ready.
But to that point, that was a function of why we engage in community feedback. And in some instances, which is why there's when we talk about this is really to ensure the safety and that our schools remain open. Right. And so a big bulk of that moves towards once we assess, and as Andre was describing, we've assessed the lifespan, or McKinstry assessed the lifespan of these things. And so the goal is to, just like they did 2006, 2007, say like, we have people coming, we should build buildings to receive those people. What we have determined based on the board's direction is we know there's going to be significant repairs in the next 2 to 3 years. We should not wait till they come. We should actually now prepare to repair those things, just like when your refrigerator is going to break or any of these things. Let's not put ourselves in a position where we have to close one school to fix something that could have been avoided by this appropriate lower taxes referendum that we are bringing to the taxpayer.
Well, and when I think about this, I think about, obviously we have a responsibility to educate our students, but at the most basic level, we are responsible to keep them safe, right? And so when I hear about some of these needs, I can't say on a day-to-day basis we are adhering to that responsibility. If we're just kind of saying, well, hopefully today we can get students in school. Hopefully today they will be warm. Hopefully today they will be cool. And that doesn't make me feel great as a parent or as a board member. And so it might be hard to give this itemized list because we've only been on the board for 2 years, and twice we've had to have impromptu meetings to vote on something to ensure the safety of our students. And so that might be kind of difficult because I'm sure you didn't anticipate, like it works until it doesn't, right? And so that might be kind of hard. I definitely understand what you're saying.
We've heard about the maintenance plan. I think
Right.
Rafael, you talk about the development of a
Yeah,
maintenance
I think what I wanted to address is a comparison of the health and life safety
Mhm.
to the referendum. Now, the way the health and life safety works is the state of Illinois actually has software that architects use, and they look at that software and they put it on their iPad or laptop, and they go around in compliance and say, for example, if we look at the map of OE, and I'm at the southwest corner, and I'm checking different things. It may be light bulb, it may be door jam, it may be something that granular. And I'll say, what kind of condition does it apply to? Does it comply with code or doesn't it? So the life safety, health and life safety report is more compliant than maintenance, right? And so they complete that report and they send it to the state. So it's a little different. So there's a bullet point that they actually use that they walk around.
Right, and but I know there's going to be some of overlap in stuff we need to repair versus stuff that's in that life safety plan.
Right.
I'm just wondering, I guess if we can do a lot of the life safety stuff in house.
Some of it we can do. Some of
Yeah.
it's actually being done.
Right,
As part
I
of the
wasn't aware
regular
of that.
maintenance. Yes, it's being done as part of the regular maintenance. I think what might be a little tricky, just to be honest, is that by saying definitively we're going to spend this much money at this school, is that there are things that may happen
Right,
in another school that may take priority over that we don't anticipate. And then if we lay out where we're saying it's a commitment, I'm just going to use it. We're going to spend 46 million at Hunt Club. And if for whatever reason something big happened in this building, and we need to spend more money in this building than we anticipate, then we run the risk of people saying, "You lied. You told us you were going to spend this."
Would-
And so what we can do, we can follow the recommendation that McKinstry did. And they also provide the level of severity by different color. So I think what we want to do, we want to follow that in developing an assessment, working with an architect, develop an assessment of what we should do. But I think the plan is to spread as much of the money around the district as possible. The key thing is let's deal with the things that are red, like priority. Let's take care of those throughout the district. And then we move on to yellow, we move on to green.
I feel like kind of the ask is, what have they identified? That's public record.
Yes.
Let's communicate
plan.
that to our community in an effective way and be transparent about what is listed on that. It's, that's to say why we're asking for the money.
Right.
But there's no, there's caveats. Anything
Right,
happen.
right.
We're in the real world.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we need to give a timeline. We don't need to.
Right.
We just need to say what, make it easier for people to see. This is the plan. Plans sometimes change.
Absolutely.
But if they were to change, our thought process, I think, is that it would be because of an emergency situation, right? Not because we completely flipped.
I just want to confirm something, because we currently have by building,
Yeah.
and we are actually expanding one of them because we want to make sure that our students who attend Goal or our students who are in EVA or in our transitions program, we have them categorized as other, but we have needs in each of those spaces, right? So we're working on an expanded version. Am I hearing you saying that you'd like to be able to see potentially what are the dollar amounts in terms of those priorities? I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
This is what's on the webpage now, and you can see how it has a circle with the dollar amount total.
Per school.
But then all the wedges, there's not a breakout of the wedges.
What are in the wedges? You'd like some more detail in the wedges. Okay.
Like
We
maybe-
can at least examine and review and then
Yeah.
come back to the board.
Not
Here's-
not recreate the wheel.
And
No,
the,
no, no.
the caveat also is that depending on the year that we do it,
Right,
construction inflation varies, right? And if we say it's going to be 46 million at Hunt Club, by the time we do it 3 years from now, the price of that may be as high as 70 million,
yeah.
right? Which will have a dominant effect on other things on that list. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm always very careful about promising a specific dollar amount for a specific building, because it all depends on when the project is undertaken and the inflation that is in effect for construction at that time.
And I would assume, I'm sorry, I would assume that as we go on and start dealing with some of these individual projects, we're going to make the RFPs public. I mean, the RFPs will always be presented. So we'll be
Absolutely.
very transparent with what the cost will be potentially.
I think I understand the complexities of assigning dollar amounts, because to Dr. Pollock's point, we've had 2 emergency board meetings in the last year and a half to approve unexpected purchases. But I think it would be, and I know I could just have not seen it, but I know there's like the big grid of all the buildings and all the little
Right.
dots in every
Right.
single one. But it might be helpful if this does not exist, and I forgive me if it already does, but to have like a summary of the work in each building, like just a more digest. Like I just want to see what's happening in my home school or whatever. Just so it's
We have that information.
okay.
Yeah.
I think that would
Okay.
be helpful.
Teresa, do you have a clarifying question?
No, not question. I thank you for saying what you said, because I was thinking, looking at the dot chart going, but that's all there, but you're
It
looking
is
at it
there.
by building. And so that actually is something I'm working on literally right now, is kind of the narrative story for each school that accompanies it. So like, for example, Long Beach opened its doors in 1967, it's
Right.
15 out of the 15 categories are going to be addressed in that building, because, we have worn areas of the building, where carpet transitions occur, or on top of the roof, and like with pictures of it to be able, to give it some more, I guess to tie the emotion of how we use a school to what it means, and not just a dot.
Yeah, and just like the
being able
identity.
to tell the story behind it of, when something's 59 years old, like, it hasn't had a
Yes.
comprehensive upgrade, there's going to be a lot of needs. So
Right.
that's the story of this one building. So like that's what I'm working on right now, is to be
Okay.
able to print these out and have these in each building. So when you walk in, you would say, what would update 308 mean here
Okay.
in this building?
And I think
I like that.
I like that. And also, I think like another benefit would be like realistically, that is not how some people like to take in information, is looking at 800 dots, which is fine. So I think just, I mean, I like the dots. I'm a table gal, but I do think it would give like more identity to the story, and also provide people an alternate way to see it. Because realistically, they can look at the story from their school, and then they can go and look at all the dots and see how it compares and exactly what that breakdown is. So thank you for working on that.
So
I
I don't think
I
that
was gonna
Erica's
say-
request would be Erica's request probably not to supplant that, but go
Can I
ahead.
change my request? I'm looking at the little circle now, and maybe if we just include the percentage of the total for each of the line items. So flooring is, 25%. So we're not actually assigning dollar amounts, but giving weight to the amount of the work that's going towards each category.
There's already PowerPoints out there that says long range facility plan. It's on our website. That's what she's referring to.
Yeah, it's the,
Yeah, she's talking about the breakdown of like the 70-some percent, 30, like within that big number, how much of that is flooring, how much of it is like approximately, how much of that is windows
HVAC,
and doors and
roofing.
right.
I mean,
In
none
a
of it's,
very, like, we can definitely do it in a high roll up. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that high roll up for every single building down to that level, because that's where we'll get to the point where if one project superseded another, it may take that number dramatically down by building. but we could definitely do the overall breakdown of kind of how we got to that number. And then at each building, focus more on the needs identified in the facility report and what categories are going to be addressed, as opposed to being able to specifically say 7 windows, 4 doors, right? Like, because if a window gets blown out, like obviously we have to replace that window. So, things are constantly changing for us. But I think if we focus at the building level more around the need and the why and what is particular to that building, because whether that's shared gym, cafeteria space, if that is the servery at Boulder Hill that kids can't get through with an assistant, or it's the front office at Boulder Hill where you can't have more than one person standing there at a time. I mean, the needs are really unique by building, and being able to kind of discuss, I think, some more of that story behind the need and what is being addressed, as opposed to specifically saying we're investing this dollar amount in the front office or this dollar amount in the flooring per building. But I can see what you're saying, like do that at the bigger level, at the overall level, and at the building level be more needs based.
I think, so I absolutely, and I think one of the things that you're raising, and I want to just thank the board members tonight and the board for doing this board, to engaging in this conversation, is because what is ultimately going to be really important is our community and the taxpayers' investment in understanding what this is about. And what I'm hearing you do tonight, and I want to invite the public at large to do a similar thing, which is to ask the questions. What does this mean for our schools? What does it mean when we don't? What does it mean to increase security? What does it mean when we don't have, we have an opportunity to increase security significantly? Our schools invest a lot of time in security preparedness. What does it mean to bring in capital reinforcements in terms of our actual building structure, our envelope, right? Or what they call the building envelope, to be really well prepared to help support the kind of security presence we need. And so I just want to thank the board for its investment in that. And more importantly, this was an initiative that was really started by the board when it approved the strategic plan. And prior to that strategic plan, for the last 18 months, in terms of thinking about how to do this in a way that would essentially reduce the burden on the taxpayers, but at the same time, provide an opportunity for our taxpayers to reinvest in our schools, this opportunity. So tonight, was board's decision on this, and the proposal to bring that recommendation is really a fulfillment, and really the result of a lot of effort of our community at large to speak to what's important, and more importantly, to match the science of what our buildings need in terms of planning for the inevitable repairs that are coming.
Okay, we did second, right? We ready to vote? Or, yeah, okay.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Wenmuth?
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Ms. Robinson?
If I may, before my vote, I just wanted to add some clarity behind it. With that, I want to be clear. Our district has serious facility needs, and we must address them. My vote tonight is not against our buildings or our students. It is a vote against putting $317 million referendum on the ballot right now and in this form. The board's job is not just to let voters decide. Our job is to make sure any referendum we present is responsible, necessary, and backed by evidence. $317 million is a major financial decision. Identifying that amount and needs does not automatically mean that we should borrow that amount today. Responsible stewardship means separating what is urgent from what is eventual, and then building a plan the community can trust. Voting does not mean ignoring our buildings. It means doing the work, prioritizing the most urgent projects, validating costs, exploring alternatives, and creating a phased capital plan that earns broad support. If that process shows $317 million and truly necessary, I would consider it, but I will not start with a number and work backwards. We know we can borrow this money. The question is whether we should ask the taxpayers to authorize it. So tonight, I respectfully vote no.
Dr. Polak?
Aye.
Ms. C?
Aye.
Dr. Murillo?
Aye.
Did you? Okay. All right, motion passes 6-1. And action item 8.5, Resolution authorizing notice of dismissal of educational support staff employee number 1. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing notice of dismissal to educational support staff Eloy Carrera.
Second.
Any discussion?
Dr. Mario,
Aye.
Ms. Robinson,
Aye.
Dr. Martin,
Aye.
Ms. Wenmouth,
Aye.
Mr. Saron,
Aye.
Dr. Polak,
Aye.
Ms. C.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Action item 9.6, approval of personnel report. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the personnel report as discussed and presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay.
Ms. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. C.
Aye.
Mr. Saron,
Aye.
Ms. Wenmouth,
Aye.
Dr. Mario,
Aye.
Dr. Polak,
Aye.
Dr. Martin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Action item 10.1. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
All
Second.
in- Second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.